President, there's so much we'd love to talk about: economy, immigration, and you can talk about as much as you want, but the one thing I want to definitely leave us with, I've had this front row seat of watching you as a father and a grandfather. I love when Eric would tell this story. He'd be 5 years old and you'd line him up to go to school. You'd say, no drugs, no alcohol, and no smoking. And Eric's like, but I'm 5 years old. And your children are some of the greatest people, and your grandchildren on this planet. And we know the importance of family and leaving a legacy. Many of us are fighting because we're moms, we're dads, we're grandparents, and we've had good lives. But we want to make sure that our children and our grandchildren have an inheritance and have the same freedoms we have. Talk about your family and how that works and plays out in your policy.
So a lot of people ask me about, raising their children, they have children. And I've known a lot of families, very smart families, very substantial families. It doesn't matter whether you're not, but some of these people are very smart and very, very rich. And their children were very smart, but their children never had a chance because they started drinking at an early age or they were on drugs. And I add cigarettes because I just added cigarettes. It's not a good thing to be doing. It's been proven it's bad. So I might as well add it. It's only about a second extra. You'd say, and no cigarettes. What is that, a second or a second and a half, right? No cigarettes. But it's alcohol. Now, in those days, it was, I had a brother who was a great guy, handsome, best guy, best personality, everything. But he had an alcohol problem. And he would always tell me, no drinking. He was a strong guy. No drinking. You can't drink. No drinking. Because there were no real drugs. I don't think there were drugs at that time. That was a long time ago. And he'd say, no drinking under any because he had a problem. And he knew it was a problem. It's a hard problem to cure. Some people in the room have that problem. A lot of people have that problem. But it's a hard problem to get rid of. And he'd always say it to me, and I've never had a glass of alcohol. I never had a glass, literally. So, because of him. And if I did, I'm the personality type that maybe I'd have a big problem. I don't know. I mean, I think I possibly would. I'd have 3, 4, 5, bring them in, keep going. So I never had, and the great thing about that is I have friends. I had a friend at the Wharton School of Finance, and he hated the taste of scotch, hated it. I remember it so vividly. And would go out and order scotch, even though he hated it. No, he said, you got to get used to it, because when you're out in business, because he wanted to be a businessman, when you're out in business, you got to be able to socialize, and scotch is the hot thing and all that. And he became a tremendous alcoholic. I mean, sad. And I remember when he first started, I remember at the first time he ever had a drink, very smart guy, he had a drink and he hated it. Oh, this is terrible. But he got to like it. And the one thing about it, I mean, I can speak to somebody who's never had a drink. I mean, literally, maybe over the course of a life, maybe a few zips, like just a zip of something that's nothing, but never had a drink, never had a glass of alcohol. And as somebody that hasn't or that never smoked, there's no longing to smoke. There's no longing to drink. There's no longing for drugs. There's no longing for any of that stuff. And that's for sure. But I know people that they drink, they're always, boy, it's a very hard thing. Even 10 years later, it's sort of a hard thing. And I always say to people, because it's a very competitive world, and these guys that would ask me oftentimes to be successful, what do I do? And by that time, it was too late, because their kid was hooked on alcohol and hooked on drugs. Today, probably drugs maybe is more prevalent than alcohol, but they're both a disaster. But I tell them, I say, and I used to tell like Ivanka, no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. And I'd say it all the time. She'd go, Dad, leave me alone. Oh, you're such a pain in the ass, Dad. Isn't that terrible to speak you? But she meant it with love. She meant it with love. But I would really say it a lot too, because I've watched really smart kids, brilliant kids, get absolutely brought down. They never had a chance. They never had a chance because they got hooked. And you'll never get hooked if you never try it, if you never do it. So I don't know. To me, it's good. Start 'em young.
Amen.